Patient 412, 54 years old, fasting glucose at 85 milligrams per deciliter. A textbook perfect number. No history of diabetes, no sugar in his pantry. Yet at 3:14 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday, his left anterior descending artery simply clamped shut. The Widowmaker. When the paramedics arrived, they didn't find candy wrappers or donut boxes around his bed. They found a dented aluminum can, diet soda, 0 calories, 0 sugar, maximum deception. You have been told a very comforting lie. You look at the nutrition label, see the zeros lined up, and you feel safe. You drink the artificially sweetened beverage, thinking you are cheating the system. You are not cheating the system. You are hacking your own endocrine system, and your cells are paying a devastating price. This is not about weight gain. This is about cellular starvation and metabolic collapse. I am going to walk you through exactly what happens in your bloodstream the millisecond that synthetic sweetness hits your tongue. Let us look at the anatomy of this biological trick. You crack open a can of diet soda. The cold liquid washes over the sweet taste receptors on your tongue. Instantly, an electrical impulse travels up the glossopharyngeal nerve straight to your brain. The brain registers a massive incoming load of energy. It sends a panic signal down to your pancreas. Sugar's coming. Prepare the insulin. Your pancreas obeys. It floods your bloodstream with insulin, the hormone responsible for unlocking your cells to let glucose inside. The doors swing open. Your cells wait for the energy payload. But nothing arrives. Because there was no sugar, there were no calories. There was only sucralose or aspartame, a synthetic ghost passing through your digestive tract. This is what we call the cephalic phase insulin release, and it is the beginning of a microscopic catastrophe. Your bloodstream is now saturated with insulin, aggressively hunting for glucose that does not exist. To stabilize the situation, your body is forced to pull glucose from your own limited reserves. Your blood sugar drops, you experience reactive hypoglycemia, you feel a sudden wave of fatigue, a tremor in your hands, a deep craving for carbohydrates. But the real damage is happening at the cellular level. Your cells open their doors for a feast and receive nothing. They are biologically starving. Your mitochondria, the power plants inside every cell, stall out. When your body realizes the energy deficit, the liver shifts into survival mode. It begins converting any available resources into triglycerides, packing them away as highly inflammatory visceral fat directly around your organs. You are not eating sugar, but your liver is building a fat shield around itself as if you were eating a dozen donuts a day. This is the cycle of exhaustion. You crave real nutrients. You feed your body chemical simulations. Your metabolism breaks down under the weight of 1,000 tiny daily lies. Think about the physical reality of your arteries while this is happening. High insulin levels without actual glucose cause the endothelial lining, the delicate inner wall of your blood vessels, to become rigid. It loses its ability to produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the gas that keeps your blood vessels relaxed and wide open. Without it, your arteries stiffen. The pressure inside the pipes builds. This is how hypertension begins in a body that consumes 0 sugar. The heart has to pump harder against this resistance. Every beat becomes a struggle. Every sip of that diet drink forces the heart muscle to work against a slowly tightening vice. You might think you are making a heart-healthy choice by avoiding regular soda, but you are actively disabling the chemical messengers that protect your cardiovascular system from tearing itself apart. Let us trace the path of this chemical liquid further down. Past the stomach, it enters the small intestine. This is where your body expects to absorb life-sustaining nutrients. Instead, it is flooded with synthetic compounds. You might think that, because your body cannot digest artificial sweeteners, they simply pass through harmlessly. This is a fatal misconception. They do not just pass through, they conquer. Inside your gut lives a complex, delicate ecosystem of trillions of bacteria. This microbiome is not just for digestion. It is the command center for your immune system and your metabolic regulation. When a compound like sucralose hits this ecosystem, it does not act as food. It acts as a broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent, Clinical observations reveal that regular consumption of these chemical sweeteners can eradicate up to 50% of your beneficial gut flora, particularly the critical Bacteroidetes strains. Imagine taking a dose of antibiotics every single day with your lunch. That is what you are doing to your internal flora. You are turning a thriving biological rainforest into a sterile, toxic wasteland. But how does a dead gut cause a heart attack? The connection is invisible but absolute. When the beneficial bacteria die, the mucosal lining of your intestinal wall begins to degrade. Microscopic gaps open up. We call this increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut syndrome. Suddenly, undigested proteins, synthetic chemicals, and toxic bacterial byproducts known as lipopolysaccharides leak directly into your bloodstream. Your immune system panics. It flags these leaked particles as deadly invaders. Macrophages are deployed. A cascade of inflammatory cytokines is released into your circulation. Your C-reactive protein levels surge. This chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation is the exact fuel that accelerates atherosclerosis. The inflammation travels through your veins, reaching the already stiffened arteries we discussed earlier. It burrows into the arterial walls, oxidizing cholesterol and forming unstable plaques. You are building a ticking time bomb inside your chest, and you are doing it while counting macros and praising zero-calorie labels. Now let us examine the enzymatic catastrophe. Your digestive enzymes, amylase, protease, lipase, are biological keys designed to fit very specific molecular locks. They are built to break down real food. When you introduce synthetic molecules that mimic the shape of sugar but lack its structure, you jam the locks. The presence of these artificial compounds denatures your natural enzymes. They bind to the active sites of your digestive proteins and render them useless. The result? Even when you do eat a healthy meal, a piece of wild salmon, a handful of walnuts, a bowl of organic spinach, your compromised enzymatic environment cannot properly extract the vitamins, the omega-3 fatty acids, or the magnesium. Your body is starved of the very micronutrients required to keep your heart rhythm stable and your arteries flexible. You are eating healthily on paper, but biologically, you are malnourished. Your cells are suffocating in a sea of artificial sweetness. The human body is an exquisite machine of adaptation. It will try to compensate. It will try to find a new baseline. But there is a biological limit to how much chemical interference your gene expression can tolerate. We are seeing metabolic genes literally altering their expression patterns in response to chronic artificial sweetener exposure. The body begins to permanently downregulate its natural fat-burning pathways because the hormonal signaling is in a state of constant, chaotic static. You must understand the severity of this cycle. The pancreas is exhausted from pumping empty insulin. The liver is choked with visceral fat. The arteries are stiff and inflamed. The gut is a bacterial graveyard. And the heart, the muscle that must push blood through this entire ruined landscape, is working overtime, deprived of oxygen, deprived of nutrients, and bathed in stress hormones. This is not a harmless beverage. It is a metabolic disruptor. Every time you open that can, you are making a choice. You are choosing to prioritize a fleeting, fake sensation on your tongue over the structural integrity of your cardiovascular system. But the body is also forgiving up to a point. If you cut the supply line, the healing protocol can initiate. The first 72 hours are the most critical. When you completely eliminate synthetic sweeteners, the pancreas stops its phantom contractions. The insulin receptors on your cell membranes, finally free from the constant bombardment of false signals, begin to regain their sensitivity. The cephalic phase insulin response returns to a state of quiet readiness, acting only when real food is present. This period of neurochemical withdrawal is brutal, and you must understand the exact physiological mechanics of why it feels so terrible. Your brain has been addicted to the hyperstimulation of artificial sweetness. Consider that compounds like sucralose and aspartame are engineered to be anywhere from 200 to 600 times sweeter than natural sucrose. When you sever this chemical supply, your brain screams for a hit. You will experience sharp cranial headaches, profound lethargy, and aggressive mood swings. Do not mistake this for weakness. This is the tangible biological reality of neurological detoxification. The dopamine receptors in your brain's reward center, previously hijacked by the intense, unearned neuroelectrical reward of a diet soda, are violently downregulating. They are being forced to reset their baseline to recognize normal, natural levels of stimulation. You are literally rewiring your brain's circuitry, forcing it to unlearn a chemical dependency. While your brain is fighting its withdrawal, your gastrointestinal tract begins a slow, arduous, and desperate reconstruction. You must establish a primitive, foundational protocol to bring the internal environment back to an alkaline state. You must flood the system with pure, unadulterated water. Diluted lemon water. You are actively flushing out the residual chemical footprint lodged in your tissues. The introduction of natural mineral-rich electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, acts as the foundational building blocks for cellular and enzymatic repair. Let us break down the exact chemical enemies you are purging. When you consume aspartame, it does not remain whole. In the heat of your digestive system, it breaks down into three distinct components: phenylalanine, aspartic acid, and methanol. Methanol is wood alcohol. As it passes through your liver, the enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase converts this methanol directly into formaldehyde. Yes, the exact same highly toxic chemical used for embalming tissue. Even in trace amounts, this formaldehyde causes microscopic cross-linking of proteins and DNA damage within your hepatic cells. You are microdosing a known carcinogen and neurotoxin, all under the guise of weight management. When you consume sucralose, you are ingesting a chlorinated sucrose derivative. The manufacturers boast that it passes through the body unabsorbed. But what they fail to highlight is that the chlorine molecules attached to the sucralose act like a biological napalm in your lower intestines. As the toxic load of these chemicals finally begins to dissipate during your detox period, the surviving beneficial bacteria in your gut can finally begin to repopulate. The mucosal lining of your intestines, previously porous, inflamed, and damaged by the chemical assault, begins to knit itself back together. The microscopic tight junctions between the cells close up. The systemic leakage of lipopolysaccharides, the toxic bacterial fragments, finally stops. Your immune system, which has been in a state of hypervigilance, constantly triggered by these foreign synthetic invaders leaking into the bloodstream, finally receives the signal to stand down. The mass production of inflammatory cytokines plummets. Your C-reactive protein levels, the ultimate marker of cardiovascular risk, begin a steady decline. Notice the profound, interconnected cascade of this recovery. As systemic inflammation decreases, the suffocating oxidative stress on your endothelial cells is lifted. Your blood vessels can literally breathe again. The natural production of nitric oxide resumes, relaxing the smooth muscle tissue of your arterial walls. Your blood pressure normalizes naturally, organically, without the need for pharmaceutical intervention, simply because you stop poisoning the system. The heart, no longer forced to pump thick, inflamed blood through constricted, rigid pipes, finally drops its resting rate. The stress on the left ventricle eases, but there is a critical, uncompromising warning embedded in this recovery process. Your biological resilience is finite. The cells can only endure the chaos of endocrine disruption and chemical toxicity for a limited duration. If you continually push your system past its threshold, if you quit diet soda for a month, allow the body to heal, and then relapse into the habit, you cause severe epigenetic trauma. The DNA within your metabolic cells begins to methylate abnormally in response to the chronic, unpredictable chemical stress. You risk permanently mutating your metabolic gene expression. You lock your body into a state of chronic insulin resistance that no amount of fasting, no amount of organic food, and no amount of exercise can easily reverse. The damage ceases to be functional. It becomes structural. The blueprint itself is corrupted. You must begin to view every single meal, every single beverage, as a line of code you are programming into your biology. You are either programming cellular function or you are programming cellular failure. There is no neutral input. This brings us to the harsh, unforgiving law of biological elimination. The human body is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, refined over millions of years. It knows exactly how to process a handful of blueberries, a slice of avocado, or a piece of grass-fed beef. It has the specific enzymes, the intricate metabolic pathways, and the deep evolutionary history to extract life, energy, and repair from these natural elements. But it cannot be tricked by chemical mimics born in a sterile laboratory. It cannot draw vital energy from a biochemical lie. The supreme law of human physiology dictates that what the body cannot recognize and use for fuel, it must either attack as a pathogen, store away in fat cells as a sequestered toxin, or slowly destroy its own organs, trying to filter and process. There is no free pass in biology. The zero on the nutritional label is not a mathematical victory. It is a biological void. And nature abhors a void. The price for that empty, artificial sweetness is extracted directly from your vitality, the elasticity of your arteries, the integrity of your brain tissue, and the overall length of your metabolic lifespan. You do not pay for it at the cash register. You pay for it in the cardiology ward 20 years later. The decision you face right now is a matter of absolute biological survival, stripped of all marketing illusions and colorful packaging. You hold the ultimate power of self-determination. You can choose the temporary, synthetic, engineered comfort of a diet beverage today and blindly accept the chronic, creeping, silent decay of your cardiovascular system tomorrow. Or you can act with clinical precision. You can endure the brief, uncomfortable window of chemical withdrawal, categorically reject the toxins, and reclaim the functional integrity of your metabolism. Look at the can on your desk. Look at the bottle in your refrigerator. Understand exactly what it is doing to the microscopic architecture of your heart at this very second, and then throw it in the trash. Do not finish the last few sips. Do not save it for a cheat day. Eradicate it entirely from your environment. Treat it like the poison it fundamentally is. If you found this clinical breakdown eye-opening, if you have been trapped for years in the endless, exhausting loop of sugar-free deception, leave a comment below right now. Share your medical reality. How many years have you been drinking these chemicals, and what day are you stopping? Your public commitment might be the exact catalyst someone else needs to save their own life. Hit the like button to signal the algorithm that real, unapologetic, hard medical truths matter more than comforting dietary lies. Subscribe to the channel to arm yourself with the unfiltered science of human longevity. Protect your cells, defend your heart, and we will see you in the next diagnostic session.